the longest minute ever. I call to order the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals meeting for today. Will we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Okay. Will the clerk please call roll?
Members of the board, Kane is excused. Groutman?
Here.
Weaver?
Here.
Toth?
Here.
Masterson?
Here.
Members of the administration, Council Liaison Winkle?
Here.
Chief Building Official Fursden? Here. Assistant Law Director Morgan? Here. Planning and Development Director Lieber? Here.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to look at the meeting minutes? Does anybody have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll accept as submitted. Okay, Mr. Toth, do we have a Planning Commission report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Planning Commission regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, August 12th was canceled by order of James Smolik, the chairman of the North Ridgeville Planning Commission. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be on September 9th, 2025 at 7 p.m. here in Council Chambers.
Okay.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any other reports or correspondence?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll move on to the public hearing.
PPZ 2025-0374, Center Ridge Dental, 33650 Center Ridge Road, PPN 07-008-117-094. Applicant Nathan Harris, 551 Oakmore Road, Bay Village, Ohio, 44140. Owner SMAMM Limited, 30179 Jefferson Way, Westlake, Ohio, 44145. Proposal consists of signage. Property is zoned B3 Highway Commercial District. Request: an appeal from a determination of zoning administrator that the proposed sign is a roof sign.
Okay, who's here to speak on behalf of this matter, because I'll have to swear you in? Okay, can you please state your name and address?
Dan Calvin, 4996 Foot Road, Foote, Medina, Ohio.
Okay, you can come up here as well.
Nathan Harris, 551 Oakmore Road, Bay Village, Ohio.
Okay. I'll swear you both in at the same time. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to make before the Zoning and Building Board of Appeals for the City of North Ridgeville are true as you shall answer unto God or under the penalties of the law of perjury?
I do.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Would the staff like to read the case?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Harris is taking over an existing building at the northeast corner of Center Ridge Road and Lear Nagel Road for his dental practice, with concerns about customer visibility due to the topography of that corner and also because the property lost frontage with the Center Ridge Road widening. The applicant was proposing to mount a sign on the roof of the building. As you might recall, in 2023, we updated the sign code, and at that time, we prohibited roof signs. Therefore, the applicant is unable to request a variance as the BZBA cannot grant a variance from an express prohibition in the zoning code. So the avenue open to the applicant is to appeal a decision from staff, the administrative official, me in this case, that the proposed sign is a sign mounted on or above the roof line of the building. The applicant provided information in the packet you have that's responsive to the Duncan factors, in which they address in detail the need for relief from the sign code. and really quite a good job and detailed. We rarely see such responsiveness to the Duncan factors. However, I do not believe in this case that the Duncan factors really bear on the question of appeal. So in this case, they've also provided rationale for their appeal, proposing that the sign is a canopy sign, which does not extend above the top of the roof line of the building in accordance with Chapter 1286, and I cited the section there. So unfortunately, our sign code does not contain a definition for roof sign or roof line. So in everyday English, roof line would mean the outline or silhouette formed by the top edges of the roof. Mounted on or above the roof line would read as anything sitting on top of the roof surface or projecting above past that silhouette. The intent was to prohibit all roof signs. However, there's clearly no definition, and if the board finds that the existing code language is not sufficient in this regard, then I would recommend that a future amendment be made to the sign code in order to close that loop. So it's really up to the board to determine if the sign falls into the category of roof sign, or if it's sufficiently or insufficiently detailed in the code that it can be considered as a canopy sign. This is a more unusual kind of a determination than you're used to making. So if you have any questions, let us know.
Madam Chair, at some point, this request ended up in the law department on our desk, and so we looked into it. Essentially, the issue being, is roof line the same as roof? And as far as statutory construction goes, and this being a quasi-judicial body, you need to be aware that when people look at an ordinance, they need to be able to interpret what it means. When we looked at the meaning of roof line, it usually meant, as the planning director has indicated, the top profile. It can also mean where the roof also attaches to the upright structure, the sides of a building. That's a less common usage of it. It does not, however, mean the word roof. And she's correct in saying it's not defined. Roof line is not defined, neither is roof in our ordinances. There is an ordinance which talks about a canopy sign that hints at the meaning of roof line being that top profile of a building. And because it talks about a sign that's mounted on a canopy, that it should not extend above the roof line. So by suggestion, it's saying that when we use the word roof line, we're meaning that top profile. And if you read the prohibition in that light, then the prohibition says that a sign cannot extend above the profile or to be on the very top of the building. A roof sign is a fairly common type of sign. So it's not unusual to see them, and it appears that our regulation is more accurately understood as being a prohibition against it being basically taller than the building is itself, which this sign isn't. So when I got here, I had some information here about a variance, but if the board votes on this and does not agree with the planning director's interpretation, then there's no need for a variance because they're not in violation of the ordinance as it's written. On the other hand, if you agree that there is a prohibition against roof signs, then it's still not something we can give a variance on because it's not something that we have and there's some variation of it. It's flatly prohibited. So that's sort of the decision that's in front of you this evening. And it really is one of interpretation. Does roof line mean roof? And I would indicate that I don't think it does.
Mr. Fursden, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not at this point.
Okay. All right, so would you like to tell us a little bit about your predicament?
Yes, absolutely, and I appreciate the comments, and I think that kind of speaks to exactly the arguments here in our application. Before I go in more detail, I guess I want to have Dr. Nathan Harris come up and just talk a little bit about the actual concerns with the business and visibility and that type of thing.
Okay, you guys can both talk at the same time. Or together.
Thank you all for being here tonight, serving the community. I'm from Rocky River, so it's been a pleasure getting to know North Ridgeville slowly. Several members I've met with, and they've been excellent. But I got lucky. I wasn't shopping for a practice. I met Scott through a friend, and just getting to take over a 50-year business with the community is amazing. So my hope is I said to him the other day at work that I would, whoever I hand to, I hope we make it 100 years. My practical difficulty is I'm not sure what else I should do with signage. I have family members and patients who have been with the practice for 30 years. I say, how'd you find the practice? 10 years, 1 year. How'd you find the practice? I've been driving by here. I'm in North Ridgeville my whole life. I've been driving by, didn't know as a dentist. You know, they've been driving by the building, and you pass by the sign, and it's just lower than people see, and people see, you know, every other business on the corners, and they kind of go by and they say, I finally had a neighbor tell me that that's the best dentist in the area, Dr. Arndt. And that's how they ended up getting to the practice. Was I've been driving by here for 20 years, and my neighbor or a family member told me to come on in. So I would like to continue to serve the community and bring patients in with just so my family can know what parking lot to pull into and see the place, because my grandma drove by probably 3 or 4 times. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I don't want to go into too much more detail because Ms. Morgan kind of made the case for us that you know was outlined in my writings here, is that you know the statute or the ordinance is ambiguous. It talks about roof line, not roof. And you mentioned statutory construction, and when you look at a statute and it's ambiguous, you really the statutory construction says you have to interpret that against the municipality that drafted it. Okay, it can't be used against us. If there's ambiguity, we've got to lean in favor of the business and not in favor of the city. So I guess there's really nothing more to say about that. I agree that the plain reading of what a roof sign is something that extends above the profile of that roof. As you can see, whether we call this a canopy sign or whatever else, this is much more similar to a canopy sign that you would see on another building. This is a unique architectural building with that large sloping roof. Normally, you know, a more modern building might, you know, have the roof stop substantially higher than that, and then this really would function the same as a canopy sign. So that's really the argument there. I'm hesitant to go into the second part of the argument if you guys are leaning towards that, but frankly, going back to the variance request, if you say this is a roof sign, asking for a variance against that interpretation is absolutely what this board should do. It's completely within your power. It's not that much different than, say, a setback variance. Okay, the setbacks say you can't have a building 100 feet from the road. That's an absolute prohibition. People come in every day and say, hey, I really want this to be 80 feet from the road. That's literally what your job is as a Board of Zoning Appeals, is to deal with variances from rulings and from the code. So I really do think if you think it's a roof sign, then the variance analysis would be appropriate. And then we would go through those Duncan factors, which I've detailed in the packet. But I think really the two big things are, this wasn't a problem that the applicant created, either Dr. Harris or Dr. Arndt. This was because the road was expanded and the old sign was taken away. So in your packet, there's a picture of the old sign, and that was taken out when the road was expanded. The other big factor is this sign is exactly the type of sign that you see in the neighborhood. And we submitted a couple photos. The property directly to the east, which is the gas station, and the property that is 2 properties to the west, which is Premier, have almost identical signs. You could make an argument that maybe the gas station's not, but Premier, I mean, it couldn't be more exact That's what we're asking for. And that's a big piece of these area variances is it consistent with the neighborhood? And if you drive up and down Center Ridge Road, there are signs that look like this on many buildings. So I'm happy to go through all the Duncan factors, but they're there in your application. But I really think those are the two biggest factors weighing in favor of granting the variance. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, as Ms. Lever stated, you did an amazing job on your argument for the Duncan factors.
Thank you.
They've given us a lot to think about. I do agree that the ordinance is ambiguous. But I will also argue that you have practical difficulties that the city created as well. So I am interested to hear, does any of the board members have any comments, questions, or concerns? Does the administration have anything to say?
Since this is in the language of an appeal, you're on this first item here, you need to either vote to affirm it or reverse it. And like I said, if you affirm it, then there is no variance from something that is specifically prohibited, and that is the language of the ordinance. If you reverse it, then he doesn't need a variance. He's fine.
Okay, can you?
You're affirming her appeal. or
We're affirming.
reversing- or
So-
reversing her appeal, the appeal.
If you affirm the decision, that means you agree that roof line means roof and that there can be no
Okay.
sign there. And if you affirm that, then a variance is not available.
Okay.
If you reverse that and indicate that roof line and roof are two different things, and this doesn't mean that you can't have a roof sign at all, then he doesn't need a variance at that point, because there's no prohibition against a roof sign. Just there's only a prohibition against one that extends above the roof line profile. Are you clear? I don't want to confuse you more by what I'm saying.
If you reverse, we get the sign. There we go.
So, okay. Mr. Furston, did you have anything you wanted to say or help?
It's the board's decision how you want to interpret the ordinance, whether you want to agree with the director's interpretation of it or the law director's interpretation of the law pertaining to that. I would only add that if this isn't a roof sign, then if you determine that a variance isn't needed or they could go ahead and put this sign up, then I've got to figure out what type of a sign it is so that I know that the size of it is allowable under our ordinance. Is it now going to be considered a wall sign that we have a percentage of area that they're allowed to put up? Or is it carte blanche? I mean, we're going to allow them to put up 1,000 square foot sign? I mean, I'm being ridiculous, but we've got to determine what size sign is going to be appropriate if you say that it's okay to put it up there.
That should not, the fact that we still have questions to answer after your decision should not influence your decision. Your
No,
decision is,
I asked for his input, and I appreciate that he gave it to me.
And on that point, we would submit that it is a canopy sign and subject to the 50% limitation on the area coverage, which our proposed sign, which is not up there anymore, is substantially less than 50% of the area.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak on behalf of this matter? Oh, sure. I'm going to have to swear you in, sir. Okay. Okay, state your name and address for the record.
Scott Arndt, 30179 Jefferson Way, Westlake, Ohio, 44145.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to make before the Zoning and Building Board of Appeals for the City of North Ridgeville are true as you shall answer unto God or under the penalties of the law of perjury?
I do.
Okay.
So for me, the sign has been a issue since January 2015, where Mayor Gillock, we had a big meeting, I think, down here about the roads coming through. And so came to that meeting to share how the road project was going to go. But I left that meeting with basically them saying, if you don't take your sign down in another month, we're just gonna bulldoze it if it's there. So I had that V-shaped sign out there on the road itself, and had to, Don Mold came, disassembled it, and he put it in storage, and I haven't seen it since, because there's no place to put it. But I was told by the city, you'll be able to get that sign back there, and, you know, it was a lot of, it wasn't anything sitting amongst the council here that was said, but it was, you know, indicated that, yeah, put your sign in storage and you'll be able to use it. I haven't been able to do that. I may still actually have it on my insurance as being covered that it's there. But the challenge for me after, what was it, almost 5 years of that road being done, did anyone ever go past my office and seeing the blow-up sign of me on it with one of those blow-up guys? Anybody see that? I had to, in order to see my office, I had no sign. I had bulldozers. I had piles of 57 rock out in front of my office where no one could see it for almost 3 years. And so once everything was done, I couldn't put a sign up. The city or the state, I think it was the state actually asked for a variance for a couple extra months after the road was completed and traffic was coming through. I had a variance, I think, that was on the property, and was told that, you know, if you put a sign up now, if we have to come back and correct something, if you have a sign there, you'll have to take it down at your expense. So I had to wait until the very end for them to complete everything on the road, not have any other possible things that they would come back for. Well, then it got to the point, well, where am I gonna put, it was obvious I was not gonna be able to put that sign, but then it's like, where can I put a sign similar to that to catch the eye of people coming in different directions? And with the property I have left, there's no place to put it. And even if I did, I think the variance in what signs could go up, they have to be road signs. With the property that I have left, which is very little, is if you have a sign down like that, if snow plows are coming through in the wintertime, the sign is toast. There's just no place to put a road sign out there. So it becomes an issue to have a sign, either put it up on a pole, and I don't know where that pole would go, and then whether it would again pass council's, the building ordinances, couldn't do that. So there's really not much for this. I have to say I'm retiring. I'm gonna be, I've sold the practice to Dr. Harris. He and I have been working together, but he owns the practice, I own the building. And, but I had to, when I got to that point, it's like, I'm retiring in a couple of years. I put these that little crappy sign down there. That's what I put in there because I just didn't wanna, I couldn't find what to put, and I pawned it off on him to put a sign up that he gets recognized for. So it's really an important thing. It's a thoroughfare of traffic. As a businessman, it's not good not to have a sign out front. And the pitch of that road too is another thing. You come up,
It's a very unique,
I mean, for us
it's a
to,
very unique
for us to
parcel of
pull out of
property.
that driveway, you can look this way, this way, this way. You go to pull out, you can't see people coming up over the hill. And so if you ever drive up, you're coming up, you're just seeing the top of the building. You're not seeing this little sign down here. And so it's really created, I think, an issue, and I would ask the council members that are here to really think about that as being a 73, so we're 52-year business here in the community, and hopefully he'll take it another 30 years, and we'll be good neighbors to everybody and try to do the right thing, but we would ask that you take all those things into consideration. There's just no grandfathering of anything that I've found that could put a sign up there that's visible.
Okay.
Right.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Arndt?
Yes, through the chair, please. Dr. Arndt, since you were involved with the reconstruction of Center Ridge, I had a question regarding that parking that is shown in this picture here. Was that there prior to the reconstruction, or was that?
I lost parking there, so.
But this parking here was there when Center Ridge was widened?
There was not.
So, because the picture of
Oh,
the
I'm
old-
sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to think. There was parking up there, but it was not all the way across.
To the road? Because the older picture there doesn't really give us a clear.
If you can go to that older picture, if anybody. So,
It's not really clear where.
go to the one, the V-shaped sign here. So I had, handicap parking was here, 2 spots here, and then there were, again, there was blacktop up to about here that people could pull in, so there weren't that many spots there. I had to put parking around the back. I don't know if you remember when, before Walgreens was there, this is the second, we want to take, call it a land grab, so to speak, of putting Lear-Nagel Road through, because Lear-Nagel used to dead end right there in our parking lot and went around the convenience store there. So it used to be, we had, all our parking was on the west side of the
west.
building and nothing up front. So this was, the new parking lot became a necessity because of, with the road widening, losing parking spots.
So the widening of Center Ridge was not necessarily the factor for losing that front parking, because actually,
It wa-
with the 2 photos here, it looks like you have more parking to the south side of your building in the frontage.
Yeah, we had to move it over. I had to pay, cost me $80,000 to put that portion in.
That parking lot there?
Because didn't they take part of your property to extend Lear-Nagel as well?
Yes. They took it where it went out, they made it, they widened the intersection dramatically, and then they rounded it to make the turn there. And matter of fact, every day when I drive in from Bradley Road, I look, there's probably a segment from that chair to that chair that has white stripes in it, which I think you're not supposed to drive through there to go around the corner. And I'm like, why did they take that? That would have been perfect for having maybe a sign out there, but that was part of the widening and I think flow of traffic making that corner.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question?
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
Madam Chair, I might be able to lend some perspective here. I've lived really right down the road from this place for 25 years. So there's been 2 major street projects here that's happened there. The realignment of Lear-Nagel, which cut this property in half in a way between where Walgreens is at now on the west side of the property, and then the Center Ridge widening, of course. I know that to his own expense, he's had to put parking in to actually have enough spaces to park as a result of both those projects combined. I know the sign ordinance is a bit, for a proper setback with the land he has, I don't see how you would ever do it. I know that we here in the city, we try to do what we can to help new businesses come in. We always do that. Now, this is a chance for us to help someone who's been here for a long time. The nuts and bolts of the ordinance, roof line versus roof, I understand all the points about that, but at the end of the day, with the spirit in which we're here for and that ordinance, my personal opinion, and I would think several fellow council members would be what can we do to make this happen, to support this business, but still fall in the lines of what we need to do with the nuts and bolts. We got to do a definition later to clean it up, okay, but there's really, like, I'm not going to speak for Dr. Arndt, but I would think that there's a considerable amount of distress has been caused by these projects, and I can't think, a lot of people had issues along Center Ridge Road. I can't think of one that had it worse than this property, to be honest with you. I can't think of one, and I know that's, just my opinion, but I can't think of one. So that's, my opinion, and I understand the nuts and bolts, but I'm familiar with sign installations. I can't see where you would put one anywhere else that would even fit with any setbacks at all.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
may I respectfully agree and disagree? We're not about how we feel about something, we are about the nuts and bolts. I've indicated, however, that with the nuts and bolts analysis, I do believe that this sign is not in violation of the current wording of the ordinance that we have. But having said that, I would say that this board does have a history of looking favorably on requests where the problem or the issue is not entirely the fault of the property owner, but there's been some city involvement in causing the issue.
Ms. Lieber, did you want to join and add something?
Can muddy the waters. I think this is like a textbook example of where a variance would be very appropriate, given the reduction in setback, the challenges of visibility, the topography. But if that, and I certainly believe it's a roof sign, but if that avenue is not open to the applicant, I still think it's an appropriate sign. I think there should have been a definition in the code so that with that ambiguity, I would accept I guess the reversal of a decision, but I do think that at least it was all clear when we framed it, because one of the questions is, well, what were the framers thinking? Well, I can tell you what the framers were thinking, because I was one of the framers and I worked with the committee and we went through planning commission. So I can tell you the thought was to prohibit signs mounted on roofs. But with the absence of a definition and with the ambiguity, I think it's fair for the applicant to not be shackled with that burden of no definition or some question about the language. That said, if the board reverses, it would be my intent to go back to the code and to fine tune the language just to clear this issue up for any future applicant.
I truly believe that this business has been in town for years. They have had to suffer through 2 road projects, which have greatly limited their options. I am in favor of granting them what they want. I'm just so confused right now as to how to go about doing that.
If you want to
So-
do that, then I think a
wanna
motion to
do-
reverse the appeal, the
okay.
decision would be appropriate.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear because I want to make sure that that's what my intent is. Okay, so I am making a motion to reverse the roof line.
You're reversing the appeal.
I'm reversing the appeal. Thank you.
Reversing the determination that the sign is a roof sign.
Okay,
Reversing The determination,
Okay, I am,
the sign is a roof sign.
okay. So I am making a motion to reverse an appeal from the determination that the sign is a roof sign.
Can I add prohibited roof sign? Because clearly it's a roof
Prohibited
sign.
roof sign, sure.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. Will the clerk please take roll?
Groutman,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Masterson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. And then just follow up with the building department in regards to what you need. Okay, is there any other further business in front of the board? Hearing none, I adjourn this meeting.